Good evening, I'm Jon Carter. Welcome to Poland Daily. Today, the Catholic Church celebrates the Holy Saturday. At Easter, Poles enjoy traditional activities like painting Easter eggs, taking their Easter baskets to church and getting them blessed by the priests. They also spend time with their families outdoors.
The Holy Saturday is the day for blessing of baskets filled with food.
Więc my mamy tutaj baranka.
We have eggs, sausage, bread and butter. We put salt and pepper somewhere under the fruits, an apple and a tangerine.
Jabłkiem i mandarynką.
O nie.
A bunny? No, it's too American.
To królika to jest jakieś ostatnio
The bunny seems strange to me.
dywersantów.
Mamy kiełbasa to chyba...
The sausage is to provide the food abundance.
Jajka to nowe życie, bo
The eggs are for the new life. The bread is a metaphor for Jesus' body, and salt and pepper symbolize home and hospitality.
domowność bardziej.
There would be no Easter basket without beautifully painted Easter eggs.
Więc mieliśmy takie barwniki, daliśmy do ciepłej wody.
We put the eggs in a hot dye and then, using rubber gloves, we painted them with our hands.
Tak.
We only have one Easter egg, and we put it in our basket every year. It's wooden and very nicely painted.
The Holy Saturday is mainly about reflection and visiting Jesus' grave.
Wielka Sobota jest dniem
The Holy Saturday is a special day, filled with sadness. We aren't celebrating yet. We watch Jesus' body in a grave.
Jeszcze nie wchodzimy w święto. Czuwamy przy nim na adoracji.
Wielkie dzieła Boga
The biggest accomplishments of God were always performed in silence, away from all the noise.
Narodzenie w ciszy.
After the death of Jesus, his body was laid in a tomb, and then, according to the Bible, he saved all the souls that had been awaiting salvation.
Schodzi do krainy śmierci.
He descended to the realm of death, but not for the eternity. He brought salvation to all the righteous souls that had been waiting there for a long time.
Krainy śmierci wszystkich sprawiedliwych.
In the evening, churches invite parishioners to pray during liturgies of the night of the resurrection.
This is the most important liturgy of the year, the most important Holy Mass of the year.
After Easter Eve, every church performs a special procession. This is the most joyful time for Catholics and a celebration of Jesus' resurrection.
The Polish presidential couple gave their traditional Easter wishes to the Polish nation. President Andrzej Duda and the First Lady Agata sent special wishes to the Polish soldiers and all uniformed services. They also mentioned Poles living abroad, wishing them all and all the Polish people a happy and peaceful Easter.
Dear compatriots,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Easter is right around the corner. It's the time of joy and hope, time spent with family and closest friends. It's the time when we want to be together, to share goodness and love.
on this occasion, we want to wish you many happy, peaceful moments. May your holidays be kind and warm. Let's be together during this wonderful time and show love to each other.
Let's remember about those who spend their holidays alone and those who may need our help. Let's take part in Easter charity events.
May these next few days be filled with kindness and lots of smiles.
We send special wishes to Poles who live far away from their country, as well as Polish soldiers serving in missions across the globe and all uniform services. To all our compatriots, both in and outside our country, we wish happy holidays of Christ's resurrection.
Pope Francis led the Good Friday services dedicated to the victims of human trafficking and the plight of migrants, denouncing leaders with armoured hearts who'd exploit their plight for political gain. Pope Francis, for the seventh time, presided at the traditional Way of the Cross service held at Rome's Colosseum on Friday, April 19th, attended by thousands of people holding candles.
La croce degli anziani.
The cross of the elderly who drag themselves under the weight of years and loneliness, the cross of migrants who find doors closed because of fear and hearts that are armored by political calculation, the cross of the little ones wounded in their innocence.
Blindati dai calcoli politici.
The cross of the Church, your bride, that feels continuously attacked from within and without. The cross of our common home that seriously withers under our selfish eyes and blinded by greed and power. Lord Jesus, revive us in the hope of the resurrection and your definitive victory against every evil and every death.
The Yellow Vest protests in France are showing no sign of letting up. This weekend is the 23rd in a row to witness disruption on the French streets. Protesters on the streets of Paris demonstrated their anger with the President Macron, which has been tinged with mourning for the fire-ravaged Notre Dame Cathedral. There were smatterings of fires lit along the route, which were combated by the Paris Fire Brigade, who are experiencing a particularly busy week in the French capital.
There have been clashes between demonstrators and police in Paris on the 23rd Saturday of Yellow Vest protests. Authorities warned that riots could return to the French capital, which could lead to a new wave of violence. Dozens of demonstrators dressed in black threw rocks at police forces in Paris town center capital. Rubbish bins and several scooters were also set ablaze. The protests, named after the high, visibly safety jackets worn by demonstrators, started last November as an expression of public anger against fuel tax increases. The movement swiftly turned into a broader backlash against President Emmanuel Macron's government, despite a swift reversal of the tax increases and other hurried measures worth more than 10 billion euros to boost purchasing power for less affluent voters.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm Jon Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily Weather. It's followed by the business, culture, history and lastly the travel.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tonight. A cloudless night as large parts of the country, a minimum 4 degrees in Białystok, Olsztyn, Bydgoszcz and Szczecin and a maximum 6 degrees in Poznań, Wrocław and Katowice. And now over to tomorrow. It will be a plenty of sunlight. The temperature will range from 13 degrees in Olsztyn to 20 degrees on the northwest. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. Another sunny day in the whole country, a maximum 18 degrees on the northeast. On Tuesday, temperature will range from 18 to 19 degrees. On Wednesday, we will see higher temperature across the Poland, about 20 and 22 degrees. Rainfall will appear on the south. Thank you for watching and see you soon.
Poland Daily Business Edition. Our guest tonight is Ola Wojak of Adam Smith Center. Sir, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
The news from the United States are coming that they are closing brick-and-mortar shops. Does the customer despise visiting shopping centers? That's a new trend.
Well, yes and no. We have this trend from few years already in Poland, so there are lots of shops that are closing. People are changing their way of doing shopping. There are too many shopping centers, and especially in the United States, where shopping centers was for much longer than we had in Poland, and it's just a way of changing what's going on in the market. First, of course, it's one of the way of doing shopping is changing, but then the companies had too many shops, and this is a direction that's going to change. You will have to limit your shops, or even don't have them and just stay online. Online shopping is more powerful and more popular than ever, and connecting customer between the market and a customer right now, it's either cheap because there are so many online transactions, then making the goods be transferable to the customer by transport is cheaper than ever, especially in Poland. So that means that this is going to be the direction for the next few years.
The very idea of the shop is that if I'm interested in something, I'm going to the shop, I'm checking or making my decision what I like or what I don't, and then I'm taking it with me and going away. Right now, people are shopping online, so the most of the goods they will never see before it will arrive to their house.
Well, yes and no, because there are right now sophisticated systems, and Poland right now is testing a big system enabling customers to have goods the same day as they ordered. So in
That's
two or three
logistical nightmare.
Well, it started. It's already started. It started in big cities, and in 2 years, it's going to be a standard. So you will buy 3 pairs of pants. You will try them an evening in front of your wife, and then you will just send 2 of them back to the company. And it's just a way of doing business of the future. And if we can like it or not, it's just a new way of shopping without spending time going to the shopping center, staying on traffics, and spending a lot of time just on your way going there. Yes.
Most of people's experience is that if they go for the shop, they come back with lots of products that they purchase.
It depends
but
if they went there with their wife or not. But for men, I guarantee you, it's much cheaper, and most of it, you don't spend a lot of time on shopping and shopping centers. So it's better, I think. Yeah.
Okay, the new system, the system in Warsaw, that deliver in one day, the day after.
Not only Warsaw, big cities in Poland. Poznań, Warsaw, Wrocław, Krakow next year probably. So yes, it's going to spread throughout the Poland.
Does it require a special store for it, a special magazine in order to warehouse, or a special warehouse that will dispatch the goods?
Special warehouse? No, but special applications and changing the logistics of a company. Since you understand that if someone is going to have a too long break, it might happen that someone won't have their goods on the evening. So you have to be logistically prepared. But it's changing. Right now, the program started. There are first companies that are really doing it, and it works.
Is it offer also for the established companies that have their chain networks or chain shops all over the city, and you are basically choosing from their offer?
I'm not sure about all of the companies that are in the program, but right now it started for small and medium companies. I know that few large companies are also testing it. But the most important thing is that this is what's going to happen in a few years. You're going to be used to it. Right now you expect your goods to be the next day. If they didn't come the next day, you're worried, yes? Most of the people are. And what's going to change, you're going to expect those goods on the evening or even on the afternoon. So it's really going to change and shorten up the time when the goods are going to arrive. So yes, shopping using typical methods are going to be exclusive, much more expensive to use, because you have to understand that there are you have to pay your rent to have a shop. You have to pay your employees just to stay there and wait for the customer. Yes, and when you have an online shop, you can have everything ready and just working each minute. So it's more efficient economically. It's more efficient, especially when every working hour costs more each year. Yes, there were changes. The world is changing. Poland economy is changing. The government is promising each one to earn more. So this is the next step. Yes, okay, we have to earn more, but we have to work more for this for more money. And this is one of the changes that is going to happen.
Efficiency is the word used here, right?
Yes, so the situation in the United States is very similar to what's going to happen and what's going to be in Poland, and we have to be aware of this. It's not a matter of poorness. It's not It's not a situation that has surprised us. It's just a way of changing the economic environment.
And this is the wave that we better stay ahead. Olaf Wojak, thank you very much.
Thank you very much
for participation in this show. And that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tomorrow. It will be plenty of sunlight. The temperature will range from 13 degrees in Olsztyn to 20 degrees on the northwest. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Rainy weather on the Eastern Europe, 20 degrees in Oslo and 17 in Helsinki. Colder temperature in Northern Eastern Europe with 13 degrees in Kiev and 15 in Helsinki. Higher temperature will appear in Paris and London, 24 degrees. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Okay, Jon, so maybe I'll be the host for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that you read a lot about Krakow and legends about it. So maybe you could share something about it.
Yeah, okay. So, as I remember, there is a story regarding a bugle player from the Middle Ages. And his job was to look out for any invaders that were arriving. And during the Middle Ages, the enemy was the Tatar. And there was one such invasion whereby they were arriving. And so he sounded the call of the bugle. And he was playing this sound, and it was... Stop. He got caught halfway through with an arrow through his throat, and he died. And to this day, they play the bugle once an hour on 4 occasions to represent the 4 corners of the world, but the playing stops halfway through to represent the end of this poor bugle player's life.
Excellent. You could be a guide tour.
Maybe one day. That's my destiny in Krakow, to be the new tour guide.
Okay, but maybe now we should get inside the sukiennicę to see what's inside.
Yeah, let's go and have a look at the sukiennicę.
Krakow is Poland's second largest city and one of its oldest. Situated on the Vistula River in the Lesser Poland region, the city dates back to the 7th century. Krakow was the official capital of Poland until 1596 and has traditionally been one of the leading centers of Polish academic, economic, cultural, and artistic life. Cited as one of Europe's most beautiful cities, its old town was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city has grown from a Stone Age settlement to Poland's second most important city. It began as a hamlet on Wawel Hill and was already reported as a busy trading center in Central Europe in 965. With the establishment of new universities and cultural venues and the emergence of the Second Polish Republic in 1918, and throughout the 20th century, Krakow reaffirmed its role as a major national academic and artistic center. The city has a population of about 770,000. After the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany at the start of World War II, the newly defined district Krakow became the capital of Germany's central government. The Jewish population of the city was forced into a walled zone known as the Krakow Ghetto, from which they were sent to German extermination camps such as the nearby Auschwitz, never to return. In 1978, Karol Wojtyła, Archbishop of Krakow, was elevated to the papacy as Pope John Paul II, the first Slavic pope ever, and the first non-Italian pope in 455 years. Also that year, UNESCO approved the first ever sites for its new World Heritage List, including the entire Old Town in inscribing Krakow's historic center. Krakow is classified as a global city with a high sufficiency ranking by GAWC. Its extensive cultural heritage across the epochs of Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque architecture includes the Wawel Cathedral and the Royal Castle on the banks of the Vistula, the St. Mary's Basilica, St. Peter and Paul Church, and the largest medieval market square in Europe, the Rynek Główny. Krakow is home to Jagiellonian University, one of the oldest universities in the world and traditionally Poland's most reputable institution of higher learning. In the year 2000, Krakow was named European Capital of Culture. In 2013, Krakow was officially approved as a UNESCO City of Literature. The city also hosted World Youth Day in July 2016. You can find more information at krakow.travel, the official tourist website of the city, where you can find an intuitive planner of stay and ready sightseeing routes, including routes around Kazimierz.
All right then, so we're inside the Sukiennicę. It's a building that was under the UNESCO list from 1978. So, Anna, what is a Sukiennicę?
The original name is based on sukno, which means the very expensive material.
Okay.
Because here was a trademark. All the buyers were wanted to buy any objects came here, and originally it was just small wooden pair of buildings.
Yeah.
And then it was rebuilt many times. And from the end of 19th century, it's in this...
It looked like this?
Yes, definitely.
Now, so I've noticed a lot of coats of arms on the walls above the market stalls here. Why are they there?
There are cities that were located on the trade route in the Middle Ages in Poland.
Okay.
So here we can see how big it was and how huge, how long. It was through whole Poland.
Okay. So this is where they all kind of came together, though, in the end, and brought all of their things for sale. And this is where they met. Okay. It's the central trading place.
Yes, of course, because you can buy here an amber from sea, and also all traditional items from mountains, and from all directions from over to Poland.
All the most valuable things from all over Poland.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. All right then, I can see this is a stall which sells amber, which over the years was one of the most precious items on sale here at Sukiennica. What is the significance of amber?
You know, amber is called Polish gold because it's very expensive and it's from the Baltic Sea, and also it's used in medicine, so it's not only pretty but also healthy.
So it has healing qualities.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
You can also make vodka out of amber.
Really?
Yes.
And how does it taste?
Never tried.
Okay.
But I only know there is something like that.
Right then. So it has this kind of rich, orangey brown colour to it.
Yes.
All right then. I can see that there's some which have got little pieces inside of it, like insects stuck inside.
Yeah, they're very, very old. I think they have thousands of years.
Thousands of years old. I'm guessing they're not cheap then if you're buying a thousands of years old insect with it coated in amber. All right then.
So, as you can see, Krakow is 24-hour city, and you can meet here people from all over the world.
Indeed, yeah. Poland's most visited city, and absolutely beautiful place, full of culture and historic places to visit. Indeed, join us again next time when we'll take you on a journey around Poland's most beautiful and culturally deep cities.
Venite a Cracovia! Ven a visitar Cracovia!
Vin a visitar Cracovia! 欢迎来到 Krakow!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. We are here at the city of Lublin, one of the most historical and largest cities of all of Eastern Poland. Today, we are going to the Catholic University of Lublin, a bastion of the anti-communist movement during the time when Poland is in the grip of the Soviet Union. It was also the home to Karol Wojtyła, who would later on become the Pope John Paul II. There, we will talk to a historian who specializes in 20th century history. In 1918, as we know, the first government of Poland is actually established here in Lublin, but I understand it's also pretty short-lived until the real power was established in Warsaw. I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about how that interaction came to be.
Tak, to prawda. Rząd w Lublinie, rząd Daszyńskiego, powstał 7 listopada 1900.
Yes, indeed. The government set up in Lublin, the government led by Ignacy Daszyński, was established on November 7th, 1918. 4 days later, Józef Piłsudski came to Warsaw after he was released from prison by the Germans. He was, at the time, widely regarded by the Polish nation as the person who was supposed to rebuild our country. He was a genuine political and military leader of the Polish nation. Meanwhile, the members of the Lublin government were all linked to Piłsudski. They were his close associates. In fact, when Piłsudski arrived in Warsaw on November 11th, all the government officials surrendered their power to him and handed over the administration they had created. Therefore, there was no conflict between the two sides. On the contrary, they were both open and happy to cooperate with each other.
Ośrodkami, wręcz przeciwnie, one wzajemnie sobie bardzo mocno pomogły.
So we know that in 1918 the first government is established here in Lublin, but not only that, also the place where we are at right now, the Catholic University of Lublin, is also established at the same year. I was wondering how it came to be, why Lublin, and where did the professors and the books and the materials came from?
W 1918 roku odrodziła się Polska, to jest jeden fakt, ale w tym czasie Rosja pogrążyła się.
In 1918, Poland was reborn, that is certainly a fact. However, at the time, Russia was deeply involved in revolutionary battles, first one in February and later in October. This great history of revolution is closely tied to the events that happened in Lublin. Lublin, as I mentioned before, was a place where the Jewish intelligentsia was located and had great facilities for Jewish education. Meanwhile, there were no Polish equivalents to those centers. As a result, the newly created Polish state decided it was necessary to build a place where the Christian youth would be educated. That was the first variable. The other one was that in 1918, the professors teaching at the St. Petersburg Theological Academy had to flee their institute. This was a great academy with an astonishing library and highly educated historians, theologists, and other human sciences professors. Lublin opened its arms to welcome those refuge-seeking professors, and a decision was made to establish a new university in Lublin. E.G. Radziszewski became the first dean of the university, as he was the former dean of the St. Petersburg University. It was thanks to the transfer of the teachers and books that the place we are in right now could have become a reality. At the same time, the Catholic University of Lublin was established the same year as the Polish state after World War I. And so, last year, both institutions, the university and Poland, were celebrating the centenary of their establishment.
Obie te instytucje, czyli Polska i KUL, obchodziły swoje stulecie.
In 1918, Poland regained independence after having been partitioned by 3 empires for 123 years. In the interwar era, Lublin became known as a city of knowledge, with 2 very respected seats of learning. Next up, we will ask Professor Wnuk about how Lublin developed between 1918 and the outbreak of the Second World War. After Poland regained its independence in 1918, the independence is actually pretty short-lived. As I know, it only lasted a little bit over 20 years until later Polish government is taken over by the Nazis and then the Soviets. How much did Lublin manage to build during that 20 years or so of independence? Like, how is everything established, and can you elaborate a little bit about it?
Dwudziestolecie międzywojenne to jest złoty okres dla Lublina. To jest czas niesłychanego rozwoju.
The interwar period was a time of great prosperity for Lublin. It was a time of incredible development, unheard of at the time. Let us begin from the intellectual life. The Catholic University of Lublin was set up and became an important scientific institution in Poland, naturally, but mostly in the city of Lublin itself. On the other hand, it was also a time of establishment of yeshiva, a Jewish educational institution. The new yeshiva, which was built thanks to taking up a collection from the Jewish diaspora all over the world. This institution, which opened in 1930 in Warsaw, immediately became the biggest Jewish university on the globe. It also had the most kosher mikvah, a bath used for the purpose of ritual immersion in water. This place became the new intellectual center of the Jewish community, with a spectacular library of Jewish literature. Simultaneously, the city was also developing in the industrial sense. Since the state had to be built from scratch, they needed to figure out how to set it up. Lublin became part of the so-called industrial belt. In short, Lublin was to become a place where important armaments and motor vehicles factories were to be built. The first Polish airplane factory was opened here. Renault opened its own car factory in Lublin. An entire sector of other state-owned and private companies were established here. Lublin started developing at an outstanding pace, and by the outbreak of World War II, it had already accumulated 130,000 inhabitants, with close to one-third of the entire population being Jewish, while the rest were mainly Polish Catholics. Poles and Jews also had their sports club set up here, a couple of theatres and an important literary scene. It was a place where people would read and publish a lot, a place where you could have a fun time and eat delicious food. In short, it was a very interesting place to live. I would say that it remained that way.
Krótko mówiąc, to było bardzo ciekawe miejsce do życia. I myślę, że w dalszym ciągu takim pozostaje.
During the interwar era, Lublin is the biggest city in this region, but I was wondering if it come at the cost of the other cities around, and how do they interact, and were they in a rivalry, or are there any special interactions with Lublin in relation to other cities?
Lublin nie miał rywali w regionie, które mogłyby rywalizować.
Lublin did not have any competitors in the region that could rival it in terms of relevancy. There were some important towns still existing, like Zamość, Chełm or Puławy. However, they were several times smaller. There was no rivalry in terms of investments or workers, since the countrysides in the province of Lublin were extremely overpopulated. As a result, Lublin was growing by assimilating the people flocking from the villages, mostly Jews. However, we must realize the fact that Lublin's place in Poland changed over previous decades, even though geographically it did not move, naturally. During the interwar period, Lublin was the center of Poland. Now it is situated by the eastern border. I am saying that because the state used to invest in economic and military development here to make Lublin able to defend itself in case of an invasion from either east or west. Polish authorities also tried to build road and railway infrastructure. For instance, Chełm, a city situated not far from Lublin, became the big railway loop where the historical railway lines from the former Austrian and Russian partitions would connect. This was a rather sustainable development for its time.
Zrównoważony rozwój, oczywiście jak na czasy dwudziestolecia międzywojennego.
As we have seen today, Lublin has a very long, yet at times dramatic history. But places such as the Catholic University of Lublin sufficiently demonstrated the city spirit and their love for freedom. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Welcome back to Poland Daily. Look, we're on Senatorska, at Senatorska 17, in front of the Biała Kamienica. It means white building. That's where we are. And this building was restored. It was built in the mid-1600s and has been restored through philanthropy in the last 20 years. It's a gallery, like many places in this town are galleries. This is a town of artists and writers, and also sometimes noisy workmen, because this place, there's a ton of work going on all over this town, and some of the buildings we can't even show you, some of them we can't even go into because they're still under construction and renovation, like so much in this country, because business is bringing money in and the European community is bringing money in to restore a lot of the old infrastructure and historical infrastructure, historical buildings, etc., of Poland. Anyway, this is a famous building, and it has a gallery in it, and it's fitting because art became really the business of Kazimierz once trade stopped flourishing. You know, Kazimierz was doing very well up until the Russian partition in around 1790. When that happened, Kazimierz was separated from Gdansk, which was in the Prussian sphere. So therefore, the commerce didn't flow along the Wisła anymore. And it changed the nature of this town. I can tell you this, though, that at the end, stagnation for about a century, at the end of the 19th century, artists began to come here and writers. And an important one was born at the end of the 19th century, and his name is Tadeusz Pruszkowski. And his house we've seen on the hill earlier today. In fact, I've been there, and I wanted to take you there, but the present owners are not in town, unfortunately. Pruszkowski was a great professor at the University of Warsaw Art School. He is the man who discovered Chaim Goldberg and the shtetl art. And he created a salon here. He was president of the Warsaw School of Fine Arts from 1930. That was the time that when he discovered Chaim Goldberg. And he founded an art group called the Fellowship of St. Luke the Evangelist. It had operated from 25 to 30 till he became head of the art school. And from 23 to 39, he organized these series of plein airs. I remember people telling me about this. The people who own his house now were telling me about this series of gatherings he would bring. A plein air is when you bring artists to paint outside, effectively. It's an artist retreat, and they come together to enjoy painting and to have some, I guess you call it, quiet time with themselves to figure out what exactly they need to say with their art. In 1923, Pruszkowski built the villa that sits on the hill next to the castle above the city. There he had many students, and they often stayed as guests. And it was really a home away from home for artists from the University of Warsaw School of Arts. In 1939, he completed several major compositions, and this is just before the war begins. And interestingly, they were about the history of Poland, which was about to change forever. Poland would never be the same after 1939, and I guess anyone would agree with that. It might be great again, but it's never going to be the same. In the same year, they exhibited some of these projects in New York at the World's Fair. During World War II, it's quite a sad story because we have talked about Jewish history here and how it was inseparable, as I said, with the Polish Catholics. And that's in fact true. And what better example than the life of Tadeusz Pruszkowski, because he, in fact, was aiding Jewish population and was caught by the Germans and arrested for doing just that, for basically being a decent human being. He tried to escape and was shot with a friend and died. So his life was ended at that point. But the reason it's important to remember him is not just because he built this monumental house, but it's because I guess in the same way that Witkowski Sr. was responsible for creating the Zakopane style around the turn of the 20th century, you could say that Pruszkowski, in his own way, in the interwar period, created the Kazimierz style. I mean, if I can coin a phrase. I mean, I hope that art historians won't be too angry with me for saying that. But I think that there's some reason to say it might be true. And at any rate, his legacy needs to be remembered. And also the way he died and the principled life that he led, and all the people that he steered toward a better path, or at least their path, in art. Well, there we are. So we're standing in front of this beautiful building, Biała Kamnica, Senatorska 17, in Kazimierz Dolny, and we're thinking about art. Hey, it's nice, and it's a beautiful day to do it. Back with more Poland Daily. We're going to go walk by the river now. Come on, let's go see what we can see. Hey, we talked about art. Now let's go sit by the river and think about it. Come on.